There are currently 28 DLC characters for Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker, each one with different jutsu, cosmetics, ninja tools that you can use to customize your own character. So naturally, one of the questions I get a lot of the time is, which DLC should I buy? To answer that question, I made a tier list at the end of Season 3, so you can quickly look at it and see that Hokage Naruto is the DLC that you should buy. At least that's my opinion, but what if you're not an attack type main? What if you mostly play defense types? Well, in that case, you look at the highest rated defense type on my tier list, and that would be Zabuza. Now, since I made that video, another season of DLC has dropped in Shinobi Striker with 5 more DLC characters which we're gonna be ranking today. I rank these characters according to the value that they bring to the game. Are their jutsu fun to use? What do they bring besides the jutsu? What are you getting for your money? That's the question I'm answering. But this is not a competitive Shinobi Striker tier list because 1, jutsu get rebalanced all the time, so I'd rather focus on how much fun is using a character than how good the jutsu are competitively. 1 balance patch and you've wasted your money. And 2, if you're a competitive player, you probably bought the season pass already. It's not like you're looking to know which DLC to buy. But if you're looking for a competitive Shinobi Striker, may I suggest Fleaboy Jetson's Twitch channel. Shinobi Striker competitive is very hard to organize due to the lack of custom lobbies, but Fleaboy has events all the time and is somehow able to grow that scene, and that's insane. Now, the previous tier list was made so long ago that I had completely forgotten how I rank these characters, so I watched the video and I gotta say, that's a long beard. Also, this guy's onto something. I completely agree with everything I said back then. I haven't changed my opinion at all, except for 1 character. I'm gonna make Might Guy an S rank. I think the reason why I made him A rank was mainly because of Youthful Roar, but last time I used that jutsu, it was definitely better than I remembered. I don't know if it got buffed or what happened, but I had a much easier time landing that than previously. And with that small change out of the way, let's rank the Season 4 DLC characters, brought to you by Manscaped.com. You're probably familiar with Manscaped's trimmers and formulations. In fact, Manscaped is trusted by more than 4 million men worldwide for these premium tools and formulations like the Lawnmower 4.0 Body Hair Trimmer and the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. And now Manscaped is going beyond the grind with a brand new Plow 2.0 safety razor. I just did my first shave with the new Plow 2.0. Holy crap, where have you been my entire life? I want to kiss you, but you'll probably cut my tongue. This single blade double-edged safety razor has a perfectly weighted brass handle. With the razor burn reducing cutting angle and rust-resistant materials, you can ensure you're always getting a close, clean shave. The Plow 2.0 single blade was designed to reduce painful ingrown hairs and uncomfortable razor burn, unlike cheap plastic disposables. And with Manscaped's Peak Hygiene plan, you get replenishment blades delivered straight to your door, hassle-free, and you can cancel anytime you want. Be sure to check out the Shad Travel Bag by Manscaped. It gives you a discreet place to store your Manscaped products between grooming sessions or when you're on the go. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off anything you buy on Manscaped.com plus free shipping if you use code Globku. The link is down below. That is 20% off with free shipping with promo code Globku at Manscaped.com. And thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Alright, the first character that came out was Sakura from the War arc. She came with a couple of outfits, 2 different hairstyles, and a lobby action. Pretty good as far as cosmetics go. Jutsu-wise, her first jutsu only heals herself while buffing allies' attack power and reducing their ninjutsu cooldown. It's a very weird jutsu because it buffs your team but not yourself, and it heals you but not your team. It's a jutsu that feels like it doesn't belong in a team game or in the survival exam. Because yes, you can heal yourself, but who are you buffing in the survival exam? It's a free-for-all. And if you're in a team, you're buffing everyone, but you're not really healing them, so it exists in this weird middle ground, and I think if you want to buff your teammates, you just go with super lightweight. On the other hand, Hard Light is, in my opinion, one of the best heal type jutsu out there. It blows opponents away from you, giving you enough armor to do a couple of actions afterwards, like using your ninja tool and your other jutsu. As a heal type, this is a blessing. You're able to trigger this while getting hit, blowing back those annoying attack types that keep focusing you, and then you have enough time with your armor to heal up your team and yourself. It's a fantastic jutsu. I would say it's a must-have if there wasn't another heal type jutsu that came out later that actually kind of did this as well. As for the ultimate, upon activation, it's gonna buff you and the entire team map-wide, and then it has a second activation where your character will punch the ground. I think it's good that this ultimate charges as fast as it does, but once again, it feels stuck between 2 worlds. As a pure healer, this ultimate is not better than Tsunade's. And if you want to deal the damage, Naruto Last Battle is still the way to go. So with all of that put together, I've ranked Sakura at the bottom of B tier, which for a character that's not entirely sure what she's supposed to be, I'd say it's pretty good, but it's mostly carried by the Hard Light jutsu for sure. Something that lost a little bit of value once Hitachi came along. Hitachi wasn't the next DLC, but since we just talked about one heal type, let's talk about another one. As far as cosmetics go, you get his outfit, 2 hairstyles, styles and a lobby action. So far so good, pretty normal. But then Itachi brings a new substitution jutsu. Shadow Clone Explosion. You leave a clone behind when you sub, that clone floats towards the enemy and then blows up in an explosion that makes the clay substitution look like child's play. The downside, it has a longer cooldown than usual. But Itachi is the only one that can give you this, and it deals a ton of damage, so for some builds, it can actually be really good. And keep in mind, this is a bonus. He still brings 2 jutsu and an ultimate like every other character. The first jutsu wasn't anything to write home about. Tsukuyomi looks amazing, but with its poor tracking, it ends up being a bit tough to land in a lot of situations. Yes, it is an unblockable, it leaves the enemy stunned for a long time, but there aren't a lot of abilities that this counters, so it can't even be used like that. For a jutsu that looks so cool, I was a little bit underwhelmed by Tsukuyomi. On the other hand, Yasaka beads are so good. You'll literally see them everywhere in Shinobi Striker, and for good reason. First, Susanoo armor can work like Sakura's hard light and just blow opponents away from you. As a heal type, it gives you some breathing room. The only disadvantage this has to hard light is that you cannot activate it mid-air or while getting hit. But to make up for that, it's a projectile with excellent tracking, and it also guard breaks, which means it's actually going to counter a lot of defensive jutsu. So as a healer, you have a projectile that deals a ton of damage in burst, and at the same time, it protects you. Yasaka beads are one of the best heal type jutsu, no doubt about it. On top of it, Izanami is one of the most unique ultimates in the game. Trapping the entire team in a loop without them knowing, with a stun ready to go with a coordinated attack, this jutsu is deadly. But even if you don't have a pre-made team, it can create so many fun situations. I think if you're taking Shinobi Striker seriously, you can probably do better than Izanami, but as far as being fun and original, this is a top jutsu for sure, and that's why I think Itachi is an S tier DLC, and that's despite Tsukuyomi being underwhelming. I think the other jutsu, along with the new substitution, definitely make up for that. Next, let's talk about Nagato, the range type edition. Nagato brings 2 outfits, only 1 hairstyle, and a new lobby action, which is fine as far as cosmetics go, but you can definitely do better with the previous 2 DLC. His jutsu are pretty awesome, however. First, you have the chameleon, which makes you invisible. You can still get hit, but you cannot be targeted. This gave range types a very good tool for engaging from an optimal position. It's not so good for disengaging, as a single hit can undo that invisibility right away, but to get the drop on someone with a big jutsu, it's really damn good. Not to mention unique across all class types. There's no other jutsu like this. And then the star of the show is definitely the missiles. You activate the jutsu, and for a limited time you can either rain down missiles from afar, dealing a ton of damage, or shoot a straight missile that's pretty fast and counters a bunch of jutsu since it has the ability to guard break. One of my favorite loadouts this season was using adult Sasuke's Rinnegan swap, putting an opponent into a paralysis seal and then just raining missiles from afar. It absolutely melts health bars. But even without such a combo, this jutsu is such a great damage dealer. As for the ultimate, it's a bit crazy. The Geto statue gets summoned, stunning ninja right in front of you, and it just kills everyone in front of you upon activation. Most jutsu that guarantee kills have a pretty long activation, and this one does too, but since it stuns the opponents in front of you pretty fast, the kills are a lot easier to get. But it has a big downside, which is leaving you without substitution or ninjutsu and down to 1 HP. So if you don't coordinate with a healer on your team, you're pretty much screwed. Still, very good ultimate, which makes Nagato an overall very good DLC. I'm gonna rank him in the middle of A tier for how solid everything is. Next, we got Sasuke Last Battle, the only defense type in this DLC season. As far as cosmetics go, he brings 2 new outfits, 1 hairstyle and 1 face paint. Nothing to write home about, but he does make that up by bringing us a new substitution, the time-space hop. With a really short cooldown, this substitution gives you invulnerability right after using it. It's a really good effect that gives you some breathing time to adjust or counterattack right after subbing. On top of that nice little bonus, he brings 2 jutsu and an ultimate. First, we have the flying thrust, throwing a kunai, teleporting into it, and launching a chidori. Not only is that stylish, it gives defense types a kind of mobility or speed that they didn't have before. It's a jutsu that honestly feels out of place for this class type, but it's precisely because of that I love it. It's something fresh, something that allows defense types to play differently with a new style, and to me, that's what every DLC should do. On the other hand, I'm not the biggest fan of Susanoo armor, even though it's the more popular jutsu, and I do think that it is strong and definitely very annoying when I go up against it, but if you objectively look at it, it's a jutsu that definitely has a lot of counters, which does keep it from being broken, but the reason why I don't like it has nothing to do with that. It's the exact opposite of flying thrust, which gave defense type something new, something fresh. This is just more armor for a class type that already had a ton of armor, so it doesn't add much to the defense type playstyle in my opinion. In fact, I find using this jutsu pretty boring nowadays. And then we have his ultimate, which is pretty much Madara's Heaven Concealed, but for defense types, meaning yes, it kills, it's very powerful, but it takes ages to cast and can be very easy to dodge if someone sees you activating it. So I'm actually ranking Sasuke pretty low on the the tier list, gonna put him at B tier below Neji. But let's not forget, the only reason he climbs this high is because flying thrust is cool, but he also brings a badass substitution. And the last DLC to grace us this season was Kawaki. This attack type is the absolute worst when it comes to cosmetics. All he brings is a new face paint, which is very discreet, and a new accessory that you can also barely see. Worst DLC if cosmetics is what you're going for, but it does make it up with a new weapon, though personally I didn't really like it, and most of its moveset is the same as the fist weapon already in the game, and a new ninja tool, which is a heavier, more damaging kunai that has less range and less stocks. Not a fan of any of this. But on the jutsu side of things, Kawaki is pretty cool, and at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. First, he also has a new substitution. This season was very good for new subs. Emergency Exit is one of my favorite substitution jutsu, the one I run on a lot of my builds. It's a substitution that straight up heals you and has a short cooldown. That passive healing over time right after escaping is perfect if you're running a heal type. It'll just keep you alive for long enough to heal yourself back up. Wonderful substitution, definitely gonna shoot him up on the tier list. His first jutsu is Karma Linchpin, which is a jutsu that requires some setting up if you want to get the most out of it, but it's something you use to delete jutsu, reset cooldowns on the enemy, and suck their ultimate jutsu gauge. This is definitely a very unique jutsu. I only have one problem with it. This isn't very fun. It was cool to use it as a gimmick when the character first released, but this is not how I want to play Shinobi Striker. I don't want to stun my opponent so I can just sit there holding the bubble. No, I crave the action as an attack type. I want the burst damage. I want the combos. I'm not gonna knock it too hard, as the jutsu is pretty good and it's definitely unique. It's just not my playstyle. The second jutsu, however, is one of my favorites. That shoulder bash that guard breaks and stuns opponents is so good for setting up combos. I actually run it on my attack type still, and I love it as an engagement tool, as it also blocks incoming attacks as you charge forward, and you have so many options to combo this with. It's insane. I really like this one. Finally, the ultimate. It's super easy to get at least one kill with this, though that's not necessarily new for attack types. In fact, this jutsu is kind of a planetary devastation if you think about it, and that has been in the game since day one. They are both activated from melee range. If it connects with an opponent, it plays an animation, and then anyone caught in the area is dead. The difference is that Kawaki's area is much bigger, but it's also easier to dodge because of how long the animation is. So at the end of the day, it's a good jutsu, but not really something new. It just looks different. Still, with a shield bash and a brand new sub, I'm gonna rank Kawaki on the A tier, right below Nagato, which isn't bad. He's the 4th attack type on my list, and that's pretty good. And that's really how you should read this tier list. If you're an attack type, you should only be looking at the red portraits. If you're a range type, you only look at the purple, and so on. As far as season passes go, if you want to get one, I still recommend season 2. I think overall that's the one that gives you the most, but season 4 wasn't bad at all. That said, if you've played any of these DLCs, I know there are a lot of die-hard Shinobi Striker fans watching this video. Is there a character that you just cannot live without? What's your favorite DLC? The one that you use every day? Let the people know in the comments so they can have a recommendation from you as well. As for my recommendation, manscaped.com. Get 20% off with free shipping with promo code Globku, link down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye!